I just realized I'm wearing the same shirt that I wore in my February ranked list. I promise I washed it.
Liar!
What's going on? I saw 12 brand new original movies this month, and today we're going to talk about them. Now, there are plenty that I missed. I spent like half of March sick, so lots of on-demand and streaming stuff, but still the big notable releases I need to know. Which movies did I miss down below? What would you recommend me to see? Maybe put it on my April list. And what is your ranking of the movies that you saw? What's the best and worst? And we'll talk about it at the end. This year has been,
This is bad. This is very bad.
So listen, today's gonna be hard. Let's all go home with the same amount of fingers that we came with. Let's get it.
First up, if you saw the video, thanks. It's the latest review on this channel. It is A Working Man, featuring Jason Statham, directed by David Ayer. And I like when these two work, see what I did there, together. I kind of enjoyed The Beekeeper. It was dumb, but I had a good time. The issue with The Working Man is that while it had that trademark Jason Statham badassness that you really want, you want and need some badassness. I really thought they overdid it with the complexity or convolutedness of the plot in this film, where they're trying to do Taken, but instead of just keeping sight on the focus of the movie, they're going off in like 15 different directions. It's almost like if John Wick tried to do what they do in John Wick 3 in the first movie, to where instead of building up to this world that they have created, they throw it all at us in the first movie. And that was my biggest issue here. That and the fact that this guy, Statham, badass, again, but he's bulletproof in this. I mean, they are shooting machine guns at this guy, and somehow he's completely fine. Not a spoiler, but for the most part, he's completely fine. All right, A Working Man, I had a good time with it, entertaining, but I can't put it any higher because of the movie itself.
I miss you a lot.
Then we got a movie called Borderline. And you may not have heard of this, but it released, I believe, on demand a couple of weeks ago. I finally sat down and watched it. Samara Weaving and Ray Nicholson, Jack Nicholson's son. Now, I'm afraid that Ray Nicholson's going to start getting shoehorned into these very freaky faces character. I mean, that's what he does, it seems like, and he's always in horror movies. I'm hoping he steps outside of that box. This isn't a horror movie per se, but it's like a comedic horror thriller where this really weird guy is following around this extremely famous singer played by Samara Weaving. He's a sociopath. He just wants to be loved. He conveys that extremely well in this film. I thought the performances were rock solid. I'm used to a little more from a Samara Weaving character, but all in all, I enjoyed her. Eric Dane plays the bodyguard in this film, and I'll be honest, at the beginning, while there is this big backstory for Ray Nicholson, he got a lot of fleshing out as a character that you care about, you show sympathy for, and so as this movie progressed, I liked the concept of it. I just think the execution kind of falls flat. There are some moments that are extremely cheesy. The voiceover at the beginning, we got off on the wrong foot there, and it didn't really know what it wanted to be until it finally figured that out, but inevitably it felt a little too late for me. I think there are really good moments and aspects to this film, and I think a lot of people will enjoy it, but for me, I just really wanted it to bring it home a lot better than it did, and it got off to a flat start. So ultimately, right next to Jason Statham there on the meh tier.
Ridley? Are you okay?
It kind of felt like it was showing me something.
You can't have a list without an A24 movie. That feels like the rule of thumb. Every month there's an A24 movie somewhere. This one is Death of a Unicorn. I was super excited about this. Conceptually, and parts of the film, we're feeling like we feel while we're watching something like Jurassic Park. It's a very fun creature feature type of vibe, this time with a unicorn, which I really appreciate, but it ultimately takes a horror spin to where this third act is kind of gruesome. It's crazy. It's as bloody and gory as you want. You got like Anthony Carrigan running around delivering solid one-liners. Will Poulter is a standout in this film. I think the entire cast is rock solid. Tonally, It knows what it wants to be, extremely over the top, but I did feel like there were times where the movie wasn't fully realizing its potential. Like, man, you've got something so good. And people are always complaining about a lack of originality. I would argue, even though this movie is taking things that have worked before, I'm arguing it's spinning them in an interesting and original direction. So I've got to give this movie points for just trying to be original. Like, that's super cool. And it's having fun with itself, not taking itself too seriously, even though it does start to stumble and lose its way as it goes. And, you know, I did start to feel that runtime as we were getting into that third act, starting out so strong, and it's introducing all of these ideas, but ultimately maybe too many, and it doesn't really know how to end the movie. I felt like they were struggling with giving us an ending that really delivered. So, while flawed, and I wanted to love this movie, I still enjoyed it. And I'm kind of fighting here. Am I okay? Am I good? It's right in the middle score-wise. I'm going to give this the benefit of the doubt because, frankly, it wasn't a great month. So we're going to say good tier because, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Every day, I get to wake up in the best place on earth. Holland, Michigan.
From the director of Fresh. I really enjoyed Fresh. I was looking forward to this. This is Holland. Holland! Isn't that weird? So if I wrote down what Holland was about on a piece of paper and the turns that this film takes, you have Nicole Kidman's character who's kind of speculating that her husband, played by Matthew McFadden's, up to something. Maybe he's unfaithful, but she lives this perfect life. Everything's so good. And then ultimately it starts to go down this very dark path, a path that is somewhat unexpected, even though the clues are there in the beginning. And so if I spoiled the turns for you here and now, I'm not going to do that. You'd be like, oh, that sounds cool. And it does sound cool. Unfortunately, I just thought Holland, a straight to Prime Video, VOD's release type of movie, was kind of boring. I was struggling at points in this movie, and I'm thinking to myself, why isn't this working on the level that it should? Ultimately, it's a movie where the screenplay has its moments, but the execution is kind of botched. And that's coming from the director of a movie that I thoroughly enjoyed. I was super pumped to see how this concept was going to be handled and ultimately what the movie was, but it's a very poorly executed movie that was frankly just kind of boring. And it's so funny, Nicole Kidman, she's either in a phenomenal film that is like warranting Best Picture conversation or just a huge misfire. Last year, numerous misfires. This year, so far, a misfire. And this may surprise people, but that's why I'm going to put Holland on the bad tier. It's just not good. From the director of Train to Busan. And everyone knows that's like one of the better zombie films to ever come out. But lately, this director has just not done anything of note. I mean, these movies are of note. There was a sequel called Peninsula, but I mean of the quality that his big feature film was. And so I was looking forward to Revelations. This is a very interesting, much more grounded plot revolving around religion. There's a big mystery at hand, a missing persons case. It's a crime thriller. It's, attempting to be extremely grounded, but there are ultimately questions that our main character is posing, like, what do I truly believe in? And, the main mystery in the beginning kind of gets put on the back burner for our character to ultimately discover why he believes what he believes, and that becomes the prominent plot of the movie, and I thought that was really interesting. So, all right, this is kind of working for me. It's just different compared to movies that we often see. And one of the more notable concepts that Netflix has been behind, but then it kind of backtracks and becomes more about the mystery once again, and ultimately can't really decide what its focus wants to be on. And I did feel like it was a little more jumbled than it needed to be towards the end. I feel like I'm being really, what is it about March? I'm being so negative, but these films, they all have so much potential, and then ultimately it just kind of squanders its opportunity. And this is another one from Yin Sang-ho that just squanders an opportunity to be good. Would I say it's better than a movie like Peninsula? Absolutely. Is it close to Train to Busan? Absolutely not. But I will give it the benefit of the doubt because it was interesting. And I can't say that about a lot of movies on Netflix. And so Revelations goes on the okay tier.
Come see me live and become unstoppable.
Cut. I think we got it.
Let me do it one more time.
Next up, another streaming movie. Austin, why are you doing this to yourself? I thought it looked pretty cool. Control Freak, starring Kelly Marie Tran, whom I really enjoy. This is a Hulu original, and sometimes they kind of surprise you, sort of. But this film is insane. Tran's character, she's a motivational speaker, and things are going very well for her until they aren't, but she starts to become plagued by this itch, and I mean a physical itch in her head, and so you're like, what is this? What's this movie going to be about? Ultimately, you're trying to figure out, and then you start to realize there's something a little more at play here that goes outside of our spiritual realm, or at least it teases that throughout the film, and so you're trying to decide, is this just her losing it, or is something else at play? Is there actually like a demon involved, a legitimate parasite, a spiritual parasite, if you will? But the things that are happening in her life, they're intertwining with that. And so, again, a cool concept. But another example of a film that just couldn't quite nail it, man. I was extremely underwhelmed with how this film played out. A concept so cool. Something that could have taken it in an extremely artistic direction. And if you're not going to go that way, then make it something very audience-friendly. This movie does neither. Somehow does neither, and just feels a little empty while you're watching. You know what? It feels like a short film. Its 104-minute runtime is not justified in any way. This could have been told in 45 minutes. We are stretching out the story and this plot and everything there. It's like, yeah, this could have been a cool 30-minute, like an episode of television. It could have been a Black Mirror episode, and this would have been great. I don't know if I need filler in a movie about a girl with an itch on her head, okay? There's a lot more than that, obviously. And Tran's great. I really like the cast overall, but ultimately just another example of a movie that did not live up to its potential. Now, the potential was there, again, conceptually, and I actually kind of liked the answers that we got. That was pretty cool, right? Did not justify how long this movie was. And so I'm going to say meh, because the idea is there. It's not terrible. It's just way too long.
911, what's your emergency?
I need the police. Someone is breaking into my neighbor's house.
Duplicity. An attorney is tasked with uncovering the death of this woman's husband, a death that was clearly, we see the beginning of the film in the wrong, but it's like, how do we go about doing this? We're obviously handling very important social topics here, and with a director like Tyler Perry, they're gonna nail it, right? Just the summary. Marley's search for what really happened leads her down a treacherous maze of deception and betrayal. Does that need to be in the summary? You're dealing with a very important topic here, something that could have, it's a very simple idea, it's a politically relevant idea to a lot of people, and something that could have made for an important movie, a relevant film, anything with substance. This movie does not have substance. Even the scene that you're supposed to really care about, where she comes, it's the beginning of the film, not a spoiler, who cares if it is. She comes in and then sees that her husband was killed, and that kind of sparks the rest of this film. It's in the trailer, okay? It's not a spoiler. And she breaks down and cries. I didn't feel that because it was just poorly directed and there was overacting. It's just like everything about this is so mishandled. And it's not the idea, it's not the concept, it's the execution. Totally, completely, entirely making a mockery of a story that could have been impactful, and just featuring some of the dumbest characters. The dialogue is just like, man, do they all have simply an elementary school education? I'm just like, talking about the characters, not the writers. I don't know. I'm not even going to look at the writers because I don't care. Tyler Perry, look, the Medea movies, they've fallen off a cliff for me, okay? But at least they're funny and entertaining. And that feels like Tyler Perry's wheelhouse, where he needs to stay. I actually think he's a good actor, too. So what happened here?
What the fuck is this?
And then the choice is made by the writers. The ending of this, oh boy, the ending of this film is just like, it's insane. I don't care enough to dive into it. One, I don't want to spoil it. I want to hold it for you all. You got to see Duplicity. No, if you can justify not seeing it, please don't see this movie. It's terrible. It is truly terrible. You know, when I watch The Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson, it's not that bad, but that's the vibe I'm getting from some of these scenes that are just supposed to be so serious. And then the tonal just smack in the face for the next scene is like, oh, okay, but you can't take the serious stuff serious because the acting's bad, the script is bad, the dialogue is so bad. It's so bad. Did I leave anything out? Who cares if I did? All right, Duplicity on the awful tier.
What's your deal?
My deal? I'm just a regular guy with a regular job, but I've got this condition where I don't feel pain.
Hey, there we go.
Novocaine, Amber Midthunder, Ray Nicholson. Once again, Ray Nicholson playing the bad guy. So, you know, he's always going to be the weird guy or the bad guy, one of those two. And Jack Quaid. And, you know, we are obviously looking for Jack Quaid to break outside of that box that he's in right now as an actor, but I have fun with him in that box. You know, sometimes he goes from the likable bad guy to the really likable good guy. In this case, he's a likable good guy who just so happens to not feel any pain. And in Novocaine, this guy is going after this girl that he kind of falls for. She gets kidnapped, played by Amber Midthunder, by the way, who's really good. And he's like, I can do this. I don't know how to do it, but I don't feel anything. And those are kind of the best parts of the movie, right? When they're stabbing him in the leg and they're trying to torture him and he just like, it hurts, you know? That's really entertaining. I had a great time with Novocaine, genuinely. This isn't a film that's going to blow you away from a screenplay perspective with the dialogue, and admittedly, the third act wasn't nearly as inventive as the first two with where this story goes, the big OMG kind of twist in there that wasn't really OMG, and then the villainous side of things. Nicholson's having fun, but you're like, yeah, I don't care as much about this, but I'm still having fun. And because the first two acts were so creative and inventive, and then it kind of goes off, but ultimately still delivers that really entertaining time in the theater with the audience reactions, the ooh, the ah, that was great, man. I had a great time with Novocaine, and it's not going to win any Oscars. I don't care. I'm still going to put it on the great tier because I had a blast.
Right. You asked how it works. To be with someone in this business, this is how.
All right, how about Steven Soderbergh? Like 5 movies a year. The pace at this point is incredible. There's another one. We just had Presence, and now we've got Black Bag, which is a step up from Presence. This is the world that I want Steven Soderbergh living in, a very creative and inventive spy thriller revolving around this mystery that may or may not involve a couple of secrets. Our main 2 characters are married, but they're both spies, so that's pretty cool. Michael Fassbender is just so cool. He's a cool guy, man. He and Cate Blanchett, they work extremely well together. But this isn't an action movie. Black Bag is strictly about the smooth, crisp, and cool dialogue between all of these spies and who did it, who didn't. It's a whodunit in a way, but like a workplace whodunit, with like a little sprinkle of comedy in there, not on a level of Logan Lucky, but we can compare this, obviously, to the Ocean's movies. That's where it feels like it lives, but way more slick and stylish, and it's just all about the dialogue, and that's not going to appease everyone. I do think there were times where Black Bag thought it was a little smarter than it actually was, and I was keeping up with it firmly all the way through, and there were points where I'm like, does it know that I'm on to where it's going? And so I may not be as high on Black Bag as everybody else, but I'm still on board with this being a really good movie and one of the better Soderbergh movies. It's also visually interesting. I understand some people are making fun of the lighting in this film. It's just like, come on, man, this is interesting. Visually, there is a slickness and a style to it that pulls you in, and the script is just kind of the payoff or the cherry on top there. And there are a couple of sequences toward the end that were awesome. Again, not action-packed, but super cool. So I'm going to put Black Bag on the good tier. I had a good time with it.
On Earth, nothing was working out, and I wanted to get the hell out of there.
You're applying to be an expendable?
You read through the paperwork.
Yeah.
Mickey 17, directed by Bong Joon-ho. I've been so up and down on this movie, to be honest with you, because initially my expectations were so high. I was just sitting back going, I like it, but it's not nearly what I thought it was going to be. And part of me expected it to be more in the vein of Okja than it is Parasite. Like, I know it wasn't going to be a masterpiece. And there were some people in my review like, Austin, you know it's not going to be Parasite. Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to be Parasite. But even like a step below Parasite, it wasn't quite that either. You know, I expected more quality from the movie I was watching, not even thinking of expectations or comparisons. I mean, that Okja one is, like, firmly ingrained in my brain, obviously. But I still wanted this movie to be better as it was going, because it felt like it couldn't quite fully do one thing well. It did a bunch of things either okay to well. Got the political comparisons, what Mark Ruffalo's doing, what Pattinson's story, both Pattinson's stories are all about. Then you've got more themes that become prominent as you watch, and then what we're dealing with here in these CGI creatures. There's a big time storyline there. So the themes are all over the place. But the themes are all over the place. Like, it could not quite find its focus. And even if a movie like this focuses on one or two things well, or, you know, two or three, right? That's cool. But there weren't two or three things that Mickey 17 was trying to do. It was trying to do 5 or 6. And because of that, it never fully found its groove for me. But I will say, I have come to start to rationalize my thoughts and say, it's still really well done. Like, this movie is well-directed, well-acted, across the board. It has this wacky tone that ultimately it kind of sticks to. I liked Mickey 17. But again, this was a top 10 most anticipated movie for me. So it's fair to say it's not nearly as good as I wanted it to be. But I'm still going to say Mickey 17 on the good... See, we're balancing things out.
15 grand.
Is it loaded?
Yes, sir.
Well, then I'll pay the zip.
Okay, time to unbalance. The Electric State. Russo brothers. Boy, I'm nervous. Then I had people in my Marvel videos say, Austin, you don't need to be nervous, man. These Russo brothers, they're good in Marvel. Yeah, well, don't get nervous about one movie, because it's just one movie. But it's not one movie. They haven't really done anything good since Marvel. Or they haven't really done anything great, TV obviously, but they've not done anything great outside of Marvel. And so I'm scared for the next Avengers movie, for that and for all of the characters that were announced the other day. That aside, you know, this budget is ridiculous. And some people say, well, don't factor in the budget when you're coming up with your thoughts on a movie. I'm not factoring it in with my thoughts. My thoughts are still my thoughts. The movie stinks. But then I start to really think about it, and I'm like, no. This movie stinks, and it costs a lot. And I start comparing it to other movies that look great and have a small budget. And I'm like, why did it need that budget? I get the big stars, Millie Bobby Brown, Chris Pratt, Giancarlo Esposito. You could go on and on. Chris Pratt, he's just playing another... It's kind of like Star-Lord, a little different, kind of the same. Millie Bobby Brown, I'm still kind of waiting to see her, outside of Stranger Things, do something great. I'm not saying she's terrible in this movie, but it's hard to... Is it the directors behind her? Is it the writing? Is it her? So I don't know where the fault lies, but there is fault there. I just don't know if the charisma is there. I'm not sure. And this story had so much potential to be a little darker, to be something that hits families, but then ultimately works very well for adults. And it's kind of a movie that hits families, but really just hits the kids. And there's a lot of kids stuff in here. But for a budget that big, for... those jokes that they slide in there, so then it's like, maybe it doesn't know what it wants to be, for the themes that it hits and represents with Millie Bobby Brown and that relationship. It's like, there's some elements in there. You could tell the book was probably good, but it did not translate well, and they took something with a lot of potential and just kind of botched it. The visuals, they better look good. They do look good. Visually, this film had some things going for it. It still got that Netflix look to it, but it did have some nice CGI and some really funny, robot characters that I thought were actually more entertaining than the human character. Do you see the sun coming in the door? Let me go close that. Okay, enough of that. The Electric State is electric and awful. So
This was my father's kingdom. A place of fairness. Like the Queen.
Snow White. Look, if I talk about this movie in any way other than what people want me to talk about this movie in, Did I finish that? No. So I'll start off with this. This movie is bad. I have no reason to defend it. Rachel Zegler needs PR training. Like, all of the things that people are saying, well, then, I mean, they're not wrong about, right? Some people take it too far overboard. Like, I'm not getting political on this channel because, frankly, I think that's stupid. But, yeah, I mean, there were a lot of things that went wrong with this film, and then Disney's trying to pit some people against each other. It's just, there's a lot, okay? And I could go into it. And it shows in the production. It's not very good. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, right? But what I really want to talk about, I'm going to make a video on this, is as I go on IMDb, I go to Mufasa. Mufasa made $700 million worldwide. It did very well at the box office, okay? And this is just a comparison for you all. It has 53,000 ratings on IMDb. 53,000. That's about the standard for a film like that gets a big box office. These Disney live-action remakes, they average, 50,000 ratings, maybe 100,000 ratings. And this has been out for months now, okay? I go to Snow White, all right? And then I look, and it has 264,000 ratings. And people are trying to tell me that these ratings are legit. And then I go look at all the ratings, and it's pretty much all 1 stars. 1-star ratings, 264,000 people. If you try to equate that amount of people to the box office and you add in, okay, who actually has IMDb, who doesn't compute. It doesn't add up. The movie is bombing at the box office. That many people have not watched it, okay? And, well, Austin, maybe they went and watched it illegally. Well, if you're doing that and you're a grown man, you probably have a problem. We need to get you checked out. IMDb even says, our rating mechanism has detected unusual voting activity. Yeah! 200,000 ratings is what Avengers Endgame had after 3 weeks. And it had $1 billion. Snow White is a box office bomb. It's been 2 weeks, and it's got 264,000. So people trying to tell me that this is legit, it's not. It's not a 1.5. It's just not. You can tell me, oh, it's the worst thing ever. Yes. And no, those ratings are legit. No, they're not. It's okay. They're not legit. I'm not defending this movie. The movie stinks. They're not legit. All right? I don't care about Snow White. It's for the integrity of IMDb. There is none anymore. I can't. And it happened multiple times this week. Death of a Unicorn was spammed, not very much, but spammed with 1 stars, and then some people spammed it with 10 stars. The Studio on Apple TV Plus, and it's went up because now people have watched it. Before it came out, people were spamming 1s and 10s. Like, guys, you gotta stop being ignorant, man. If you do that, you're dumb. You're stupid. You have no education. You have a problem. You need to seek help. Find a therapist. If you don't do that, you're cool, right? It's all about watching the movie first, then giving a rating. Well, yeah, but if I spam a 1 star, it teaches Disney No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It actually gets the movie more notoriety because then these articles come out that it's been review bombed and kind of puts the movie back in the zeitgeist. So you're actually helping the film. There is no such thing as bad press. Well, there is. But in this case, it's not bad. It's just people acknowledging that it's being review bombed. And so you guys know Snow White is bad. It is not the worst movie in that vein that I've ever seen. There was some charm to certain moments. I do think Rachel Zegler has a nice singing voice. I don't think she fit the character. I don't know what Gal Gadot's doing. What is she doing in this movie? It's kind of a disaster. But ultimately, I'm going to put it on the bad tier, not quite the awful tier, because I do think it's going to work for its target audience, and that is young girls. And I imagine my daughter watching this movie and having fun with it in a couple of years, and so that's kind of where my head's at. Before I put these films in order, what did you watch this month? I wanted to see Magazine Dreams. I'm going to try to check that out. The Flick Pick told me that was really good. The Woman in the Yard, people are talking about that. Didn't get a chance, man. Again, we've been sick, feeling better. Drop a like on this video if you want more of these monthly tier lists, maybe TV one of these days, and leave your thoughts. Share it with your friends or your foes. On the awful tier, Tyler Perry's Duplicity. I know it's crazy. It sounds crazy, but I'm going to say it's worse than the Electric State. At least the Electric State has that blockbuster energy. Snow White is definitely worse than Holland. Holland at least had some sort of creative thing to it. On the meh tier, I look at that order, and you know what? That's actually pretty good. Here's the thing. I had more fun with a working man, even though it's very flawed. And Control Freak's on the bottom because it should have been a short film. On the OK tier, we'll stick with Revelations. Obviously, that is number 5. Number 4. This is actually tough. I'm going to say Mickey 17 was just better executed than a movie like Death of a Unicorn. Both of them extremely creative. But surprisingly, I'm going to say Black Bag is the best movie on the good tier. My number 2 of the month. If you would have told me that before March, I would have called you crazy. And then number 1 is Novocaine. At the beginning of the year, if you would have said, Austin, you're going to put Novocaine and Black Bag above Mickey 17, I would just disappear. Avengers Infinity War style. Just turn to dust. But that's the way it is, man. And I am still, look, I know I put Novocaine on the great tier. I'm still looking for that movie this year. We've come very close. We've had some films that are good to great. I need an awesome. I don't need an all-timer, okay? I just need an awesome. And so what is that movie going to be? Is it the Minecraft movie? Because that's coming this week. Oh, God. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it big time. Thanks for all the well wishes. Feeling better. And I'll see you tomorrow.